If you're actually a fan of sprinting, then all you really want to see are the fastest athletes in the world go at it, which is why Grand Slam Track hosting their very first meet in Jamaica is a big deal, because they are bringing us some of the best fields you're ever going to get in a pro track meet, like top to bottom, and they're delivering it in the month of April. That is not normal. But I am prepared to address the elephant in the room, that some of the athletes whom we recognize as the fastest, because they've been all the way in the front of the race in the races that we all believe actually matter, the World Championships and the Olympics. Yes, some of those names aren't going to be in attendance, and I am aware that the real question out of all of that is why. And no, I am not going to address much of that in this video. But what I am going to do is tell you where some of the athletes are actually going to be right now. Because apparently, Julien, Alfred, and Shericka Jackson are going to be running at the Miramar Invitational this weekend, the exact same weekend where Grand Slam Track is going off. To put it in perspective, they're going to be running an outdoor 300-meter dash, and they're likely making that decision because they believe it is best for them and their goals at the end of the season. But I also have to point out that up until recently, there were reports that Sha'Carri Richardson was also going to be on the track, likely not in 300, but that she was going to be at the meet in Miramar. The information started floating around the internet, and of course some people started letting me know about it. But ultimately, Sha'Carri Richardson herself went to social media to tell us that that is apparently all lies, and that she's not planning on running in Miramar. And if you check the starting list, she ain't lying. I don't see her name on there. The crazy thing about Sha'Carri's part in all of this is the amount of buzz that actually circulated about the idea that she might run in Miramar. Again, I'm not even addressing the fact that it's this specific weekend, because in case you didn't know, Grand Slam Track is going to be in Miramar. They're just not going to be there this weekend. That's coming about a month from now. But we all know that the three women who I'm discussing are more or less the biggest names in women's sprinting right now. And if that is true, then even when they choose to run a 300, which doesn't really mean anything, or for that matter, choose not to run a race, which I guess doesn't mean that much either, they are still a story, and it is going to draw attention. Because, hey, if you just deal with Shericka Jackson is back. The same woman who's been the fastest women's 200-meter runner we have seen this side of FloJo. She's the only person who even got dangerously close to make it look interesting going for that record. Shericka Jackson was supposed to dominate the Olympics, and it was last year at a Continental Tour event while she was racing a 200 against Julien Alfred that she pulled up in that race. And we never saw her compete for the remainder of the season, even though we were holding our breath for it. We just didn't actually get to see it. So now that she's back on the track, of course there are big expectations, because she didn't get to run at the games, and she's already dominated the world in the 200, so she can come back and do it again. She can perhaps go for even a sprint triple, which I'm sure would be an amazing thing for Jamaica, but for now, we are just waiting to see how that unfolds. That is a story. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. And then there's Julien Alfred, the woman from St. Lucia who brought the first medal of any color, at least the first Olympic medal, and it was gold, back home to St. Lucia. And she did run indoors in a 300, and now she's running outdoors in a 300. So clearly she's laying the foundation for what the future of her season's going to be. And again, she's choosing to do it in Miramar. Sha'Carri Richardson not running is still a story, because people thought that she was going to run. And like I said, I'm not the one breaking this information. There were multiple articles that floated that narrative that she was going to be on the track. So it built up some expectation from the fans that she would be on the track. I really don't know how to talk to you about this without being perhaps even a little bit too honest. So I'm just going to rip the band-aid off and say what I got to say. What it actually feels like to be a track and field fan, like if you are an actual track and field fan, or at least a fan of sprinting. This situation is exactly what it feels like. Because, more or less, when it comes to the stories around the sport, the athletes themselves are the stories. Because we don't know where they're going to run or when they're going to run. You're just trying to follow it to the best of your ability. You try to track it here, track it there. Because athletes are on starting lists and then they don't run. Like, hey, you may see them on a promo and then they are no longer in the field all of a sudden. Sometimes they replace somebody in the lane. Sometimes they don't at all. And I don't know if Sha'Carri really was going to run in Miramar or if it never was a thing and the story just was, I guess misreported. But in general, people care what the stars are doing. And when we talk about the success of the sport going forward, because Grand Slam track is about to happen, and I will be paying attention, they are giving us the best field that we were really ever going to get in professional track. Once again, let me know in the comments, because if it's not the Olympics or the World Championships, when do we really get to watch these types of athletes line up against each other with something actually on the line? I am aware that the track community is likely still learning how to adjust to all of this. But for now, when we talk about stories in the sport and the stars of the sport, wherever the stars go, that is a story that most people are going to choose to listen to. I even recently read a comment on this channel where somebody was saying that even though they were excited for Grand Slam track, because a lot of people apparently actually are excited, myself included. Again, I did a poll on it. But one of the comments said that because they're a Christian Coleman fan, and he's already made it known that he is booked to run a bunch of races on the Diamond League circuit, that's what they're going to pay attention to. It doesn't really matter who else is in the field, because that's the athlete they want to follow. This is an individualized sport. It's just the way things are set up right now. So if there's an athlete that people care about, the story is that athlete. The real story up until now has been their journey to the World Championships or the Olympic Games if it happens to be that year on the calendar. And as much as we really want to follow the journey, even though it's hard to actually do, for the most part, the journey itself doesn't matter anywhere near as much as the destination. Because if you get a gold medal at the end of the year, at least that's what we've been told, that is all that matters. So shifting the narrative away from that to anything that's not that is so new and so different that many people don't yet know how to receive it. So yes, as far as I know, at least from what the starting list says at the moment, Shericka Jackson is back, and Julien and Alfred will be on the track competing against her, just like the last race that she actually ran. And no, Sha'Carri Richardson will not be on the track in Miramar, even though there were reports that she would be. She told us herself that is a lie, but the fact still remains is that Grand Slam track is now here. So when an athlete chooses to run, specifically when one of the slams go down, I am going to notice, because the stage was set for the fastest athletes in the world to compete. And if they don't happen to be on that stage at that specific time, it is going to raise some questions. But for now, this is the world we're living in, where Grand Slam track is going to deliver 4 times a year stories, real stakes, and the stars of the sport, even if they don't necessarily have all the stars of the sport. So whenever those athletes actually do show up to run, or even think about showing up to run, there will also be another story somewhere else for us to notice. In the sport of track and field, confidence is everything, because when you win, that is just the moment when everybody else finds out what you already knew to be true, that fast is a lifestyle. Get your Fast is a Lifestyle track and field gear at scarecruiting.com/shop, or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.